So we are in chapter 13. We just finished chapter 12 last week. The chapter 12, remember, we are in the middle of the discussing the Beinoni. So let's go a quick review about what's the Beinoni. So we have a Rasha Veralo, somebody who's Rasha and bad to him, and we discovered that a Rasha Veralo is someone who sins and he doesn't have regret. By the way, a lot of people make a mistake. We are on page 55. A lot of people make a mistake and they think a Rasha Veralo is someone who sins and doesn't have regret. They think it's someone who's not religious. Someone who's not religious cannot be Rasha Veralo. A non-religious person cannot be a Rasha Veralo. The reason is you have to know that you're sinning.
Yeah, but you may not be religious. I'm not really religious, but I know, I'm studying.
Yeah. Religious means that you believe 100%, you believe, you know, that this is not allowed. For example, somebody who is not convinced that driving on Shabbos is a problem, right? For example, he's not a Rasha Veralo, he just doesn't know. He is missing information. Maybe he will learn more, he will know. But right now, you cannot consider him a Rasha Veralo. Why? Because he doesn't know he's sinning. He's not aware that he's doing something wrong. He's ignorant. He doesn't have to be ignorant. He might know the law. I'll give you an example, just to discuss it a little bit. The Rambam brings it in Jewish law. And the Rambam says there's a concept that's called Tinok Shenishba, a baby that was kidnapped. What does it mean, baby that was kidnapped? In the old times, there used to be raids. They used to raid Jewish villages, and they used to kidnap women, kill the men, kidnap the women and babies, and raise them up, either as slave or as their own, whatever the case would have been. And let's say there was a baby, he knew he was Jewish. After a while, his mom told him that he's Jewish, but he grew up in another village with a non-Jew throughout his life. And when he became 18, he went to do, 15, he went to do the world, to do whatever he wanted. So he comes to the Jewish people, and Jewish people, you tell him, you should know that you're Jewish, and you should know these are the laws, and he learned the laws, and he doesn't keep them. So the Rambam says you can't punish him. The reason why you can't punish him, so what if you told him? He doesn't believe you. He doesn't believe in it. The fact that you told him to do something, that doesn't mean he's convinced that he should be doing it. And therefore, all Jewish punishments cannot apply to such a person. So when we're talking about a Rasha Veralo, we're talking about religious people, not non-religious people. Somebody who believes, he just doesn't do. He doesn't do and doesn't have regret. Yeah, that's a Rasha Veralo. What's a Rasha Vetovlo? Rasha Vetovlo is somebody who does sin. Depends how often, sometimes once in a blue moon, sometimes once every day, sometimes a couple of times a day. But it doesn't matter, he has regret. After he sins, he has regret. The two tzaddikim don't want to sin. They never have a desire to sin. The Beinoni has the desire. It is out of the question in his mind that he's going to sin. It's not fathomable. In other words, there's a knocking on the door constantly. He never opens the door. He doesn't entertain the thought. He knows he's not going to sin. That's the Beinoni. That's what we discussed last time. In Perek Yud Gimel, we're going to go a little bit deeper in the Beinoni itself. A couple of more layers that we need to understand. So Perek Yud Gimel starts. ובזה יובן לשון, and in this we're going to understand the language Mima'amar Razal, where the sages have said. What did the sages said? The sages says, Beinonim, when it comes to a Beinoni, this is in the Gemara, when it comes to the Beinoni, Ze veze shoftan. This one and this one judges them. Now don't use the word judges, advises them. What does it mean? This one and this one judges them. See, a tzaddik only hears the good inclination talking to him. He only hears God, the godly soul talking. He doesn't ever hear the animal soul. The animal soul is not talking to him. Not knocking on his door, ever. A Beinoni, constantly he has knocking from the door from two people. Knocking of the door of the animal soul and knocking at the door of the godly soul. The animal soul says, take care of yourself. The godly soul says, God comes first before you. And that's the constant battle that he goes around all day. Pirush, which means Yetzer Tov Yetzer Hara. It's both the good inclination, which knock on his doors, and the evil inclination, who knocks on his door. Dechtiv. And here we're going to have something very interesting, something very controversial, that you would think, what is going on over here? Without God intervening and coming to the help of the person, he would not win the war. In other words, in chapter Yud Bet, we said, if you remember when we gave the analogy of this woman who is in the store with her kid and she's controlling herself, and then when she's by herself, she lets go and she starts shouting at him, and then immediately when she sees somebody looking at her, she's controlling herself again, if you remember the analogy. And we said, how is she capable of? Because it says God created human beings with intellect controlling their emotions, which means we have the ability to control our triggers. Even though we do have the ability to control our triggers, our evil inclination, is always going to be stronger than the good inclination. Always. Which means if God doesn't intervene and God would not come to our help, we're not going to win. Let's explain this. You know what? I heard this question, I heard this example from one of my rabbis when I was in yeshiva. The example was going like this. He just got married. He says, I was a young man. He was 20 years old. He says, I just got married. Before I got married, I used to wake up every day, 5:30 in the morning. I had a chevrusa. I have somebody to learn with at 6 o'clock already, before davening. We were learning for 1 hour, and then we daven at 7 o'clock. It says that was my thing every day. So on the day of I got married, so the first day I was with my wife, and on the second day we had an agreement that from the second day of the marriage, even though we have Sheva Brachot, the 7 Brachot, I'm still as a not going to act like a married man. I'm going to continue to wake up 5:30 every morning to learn with my chavuta. So he says, he wakes up 5:30 in the morning, and immediately there's a battle in his head. What's the battle? The battle is the evil inclination comes and tells him, look, you've been celebrating, you said l'chaim yesterday, it's Yesheva Brachos, your wife is expecting you also to spend a little time with her. You can't just get up in the morning and run away. You know, it's not nice, it's not this. And in the other hand, he says, yeah, but you promised your chavruta, you're going to be there 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah? And it says that he has the debate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it says, and the debate in his brain went like this constantly. It was debate. Should I get up? I shouldn't get up. It's my wife. It's not really expected. My chavrusa doesn't really expect me to come. He does expect it, but maybe I should. If I'm messing up now already, I'm going to mess up to the rest of my life. So maybe I should do start now. So he says he had the debate for 2 hours in his mind. Listen to the debate. So which means if you have the debate for 2 hours, who won? The evil inclination. See, a Beinoni doesn't have the debate. As soon as the thought about not getting up comes into his mind, what does he do? He suppresses it. But a normal person, right, without God's help, what will happen? There will be a battle. And in the end, though, God helped him. He got up.
In this case, I don't know if it's the evil inclination, because Shlom Bayit preempts Chavruta. So if your wife said, I'm expecting you.
No, his wife doesn't say. His wife is sleeping. His wife is sleeping. He will be coming back after there. Don't worry. That's what the evil inclination says. By the way, there's an expression by Hasidim. From the excuse of Shlom Bayit will lead you to worship idols. Yeah, they will. But we get it. So over here, God says, Dechtiv, it is written, in the third line, Ki ya'amod leyemin evyon. God is standing to the right of the poor guy. Now let me explain to you why is it the godly inclination is called to the weak, to the poor. We're going to have a whole chapter about it later on. I'll just give you an overall view. We have the animal soul. The animal soul is the king of the body. Why is he the king of the body? Because he rules us. We're hungry, we're thirsty, we're tired. It's all what? It's all the animal soul. We want to survive. We want to be here. We're cold. We're hot. Everything is animal soul. The whole thing. The godly soul only enters the body completely at the age of 13 years old for a boy. In other words, the animal soul knows you personally. You're born with it. It knows everything about you. The godly soul, how many times are we attached to our godly soul? Everybody knows by himself how many times he's doing things with the godly soul. The animal soul is the one who's controlling this body. He's the one in charge. And all of a sudden you come and you tell him, hey, be a good guy. The animal soul says, hey, who's the boss here? Who's been running this body for the last I don't know how many years? And running it successfully. Look, the person is still here. He eats good. He drinks good. He still survives. I brought him here. The godly soul has a little bit a squeaky voice compared to the power of the animal soul. Without you, without the person going into battle and coming and telling the animal soul, no, I'm going to do the right thing, just the battle between them two, you're going to lose every time. Or almost every time. There'll be many tests you won't be able to pass. Let's put it this way. But what? God intervenes. God comes and he stands to the right of the Evion, to the right of the godly soul, lehoshia mishuftei nafsho, to save him from the two guys who are advising him. So there's two guys now by the Beinoni who's, you know, like in the cartoons, the bad angel and the good angel. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. They're both advising the person what to do. But the Beinoni has the, let's say, the motivation and the sincerity that he woke up in the morning, he's not going to listen to the animal soul. He's a sincere person. ולא אמרו זה וזה מושלים חס ושלום. They don't both govern the body. They both advise the body. They both knock on the door to tell the body what to do. But not, God forbid, that the person thinks, oh, I'm going to listen to one. כי כשיש איזו שליטה וממשלה ליצר הרע, because like we mentioned before, when the evil inclination rules in any aspect, בעיר קטנה, in the small city, which is our body, so when the evil inclination has any rule in the body, even in thought, not the idea, even in entertaining the thought, just like this guy did in bed, battling it, right? So-called battling it. That wasn't battling it. Battling it says, shut up, I'm going to do what I need to do. That's battling it. He wasn't battling it. He was discussing. He was thinking not of the idea, he was thinking about the idea. Let's discuss. Let's discuss if I should get up or not. Let's discuss. In other words, he himself didn't know if he was going to get up or not. A Benoni knows, I'm going to get up. It's hard for me, but I'm going to get up. Because if there's any kind of governorship over this small body, אפילו לפי שעה קלה, even for a moment, נקרא רשע באותו שעה. That person is considered to be Rasha at that moment, until he does tshuva. And maybe he decides, you know what, I'm going to be sincere again. אלא, היצר הרע, so by the Benoni, the יצר הרע is not entertaining the thought, maybe I'm going to come into the body and take control. He knows he's not going to. He just advises. He knows he's, think about it like it's like in the Congress over here. Congress, the Assembly, I know how it works in American politics, but you've got 80% Democrat and 20% Republican. You know it's going to pass because it's democratic. I know for sure the bill is going to pass. But still you have the Republicans that on the other side telling you why it shouldn't pass the bill. That's what it's like. It's not like the Benoni doesn't know that he knows he's going to do the right thing. But there's an advisement on the other side that gives him the wrong ideas. אלא אינו רק על דרך משל, it is just like an example, כמו שופט ודיין האומר דעתו במשפט. It is just like think about the Supreme Court, dissenting opinion. There's one guy who dissents. He knows that the bill is going to pass in the Supreme Court, but he's going to say his opinion. So the evil inclination says his opinion constantly, a dissenting opinion. האומר דעתו במשפט, he says his opinion in this judgment. ואף על פי כן יכול להיות, and nevertheless it is possible that it's going to be, שלא יהיה פסק ההלכה כך למעשה. That the law is not going to be like him, like the dissenting opinion. מפני, why? Because there's another side. מפני שיש עוד שופט ודיין החולק עליו. So let's take, in our example, there's going to be two judges. Who are the two judges who are sitting in the Supreme Court? The good inclination and the evil inclination. And each one says their opinion. So which one we should go by? So it says, then we go to a tiebreaker. Who's the tiebreaker? The tiebreaker is going to be God. God is going to be the tiebreaker over here. But it's only going to go into the tiebreaker when there's a fight. See, if there's no fight, it will never go into a tiebreaker. 99.9% of the time, we don't even get to the tiebreaker. We have a debate with the good inclination with the evil inclination, and we come to the conclusion that the evil inclination is correct. He's right. He knows what he's talking about. He knows life. I'm tired. Look, what use is it going to be of me waking up 5:30 in the morning when I slept for 4 hours? I'm not going to be concentrating anyway. I'm not going to be davening afterwards anyway. I'm not going to be able to concentrate the rest of the day anyway. That's what the evil inclination says. Why you wake up? Look, the evil inclination tells you, you want to be a real chassid? Get an hour more of sleep. Then you'll be able to daven properly. You'll be able to be a mensch throughout the day. You'll be able to think when you learn. Like this, you think you'll be able to learn? You see how good the evil inclination is? That's what he does. And if you're starting to have debates with him, he's going to win.
It's not necessarily an evil inclination. If you sleep 4 hours, you're supposed to drive a truck. You run into accidents. That's science. Sleep deprivation get you to make mistakes.
Yeah, you're right. So you might be right about driving a car. We're talking about learning Torah.
Well, also, if I'm asleep learning a Torah, I didn't study with intensity.
That's what the evil inclination says.
Maybe it's a good inclination.
It's very good. It's a very good idea. But it is the evil inclination who comes, because you know that what? Drink another cup of coffee. Drink another cup of coffee and learn. Life is sometimes hard. Yeah, that's what happens. What do you think? When you have babies, you get 8 hours of sleep every night? No, you survive with 3 hours of sleep, with 2 hours of sleep. I've survived many a night and I was able to. Nothing happened. Nobody died. And the evil inclination tells you, you're going to be healthy, then you're going to be sick, and then you won't be able to learn ever. Because, and you see how good he is? That's the debate. וצריך להכריע ביניהם. The only way that there's going to be a tie splitter is when you have the fight one with the other. וצריך להכריע ביניהם. And you have one on the side, one says get up, one says don't get up. וצריך להכריע ביניהם, and you need to have a tiebreaker between those two opinions. והלכה כדברי המכריע. And what you're going to do is like the words who's going to win. כך היצר הרע, this is how the evil inclination אומר דעתו בחלל השמאלי שבלב. He says his opinion in the left ventricle in the heart. In other words, think about what the evil inclination is talking about. It's very easy sometimes to know if it's evil inclination or not. The evil inclination tells you, take care of yourself. You're important. God needs commandments. That's God's business. You have the responsibility to do what? To take care of yourselves. So it comes as an emotional need. I need to take care of my well-being, psychological, physical, whatever it is. That's the evil inclination. ומהלב עולה למוח. And then from the heart, instead of the brain telling the heart what to do, the heart says, I want to stay in bed for another hour. So now the heart goes to the brain, and the heart asks the brain, give me a couple of reasons why staying in bed is the right thing. See how it works? Exactly the opposite. Instead of doing the right thing, telling the heart, I know you're tired, get up anyway, it's the heart who's telling the brain, come up with a few reasons why should I still be in bed. ומהלב עולה למוח, and from the heart it goes up to the brain by Beinani. And then there's no debate. See, the idea of I'm going to be tired, I'm not going to be learning properly, pops into the Beinani's mind. But immediately, the Beinani knows, I'm going to get up. See, it's not like us. We have a debate. Am I going to get up or am I not going to get up? The Beinani knows for sure, I'm going to get up. It's not a question in his mind. He knows. Yeah, the idea of not getting up enters his mind. But he knows for sure, I'm getting up. ומהלב עולה למוח להרהר בו, to have that thought. But what happens? ומיד חולק עליו השופט השני. Immediately, the good inclination comes and he says, what are you doing? What are you even thinking about? You're supposed to get up. שהוא הנפש האלוקית שבמוח. This is the godly soul that dwells in the brain, המתפשט בחלל הימיני. And it tells the heart, I know you're tired, who cares? You've done, you know what it tells? Don't go into this debate. But the godly soul knows, excuse me, for 2 days you were celebrating and dancing on the beach and you weren't tired when you had a party and you were drunk and you were able to go up and down because there was women and wine. That you didn't complain, I'm too tired. And all of a sudden now you're tired when it comes to God? Yeah, last week you remember? That's not the Beinoni who was saying it, because last week he didn't do it. But think about it. You have the power to do it. You were up for 2 days straight celebrating. So what are you telling me you don't have the power? Now when it comes to your enjoyment, you have plenty of power. When it comes to doing the right thing by God, all of a sudden you don't have the power? That's what the godly soul says immediately. המתפשט בחלל הימיני שבלב, and then it goes to the heart and it tells the heart, not only you're going to get up, you're going to get up with energy now. Not only get up with energy. שבלב מקום משכן היצר הטוב. This is where the good inclination live, in the right ventricle. והלכה. So now there's a debate. The evil inclination against the good inclination. The evil inclination has good reasons why you shouldn't get up. The good inclination has also good reasons why you should get up. So what do? הלכה כדברי המכריע. The halacha, what you're going to do is according to who's going to the third judge. And who's the third judge? Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The third judge by a Beinoni or by us is God. In other words, let's just discuss it to be practical. See, we're discussing a Beinoni over here, but it doesn't have to be a Beinoni. It can be a Rasha. It can be a Rasha v'tovlo. Rasha v'tovlo. Every time he fights against the evil inclination, you know what happens? God helps. Every time. Every time you're going to start a fight against the evil inclination, God will help. You know what the problem is? The problem is that we give up from the beginning. We don't even start the fight. We say it's too hard. I'm not going to go through it. It's too energy. It's too taxing. Maybe I can do a battle once a day, twice a day, 5 times a day. But the Beinoni is exhausted. You know how many times the Beinoni goes through what we just described? Some Beinonis go through it every moment of their life. Constantly. They have to go through these moments. Some Beinonis maybe less. And us also, every time we win the battle, which we win sometimes, hopefully many times, this is the process that's happening.
We're here. We won.
That's right, we're here. העוזרו ליצר הרע, כמאמר רז"ל, this is like the sage says. So our problem is not that we can't win the problem. Every time we can win the battle against the evil inclination. We have the power because we rely on God to help. That's why we have the power. On our own, we don't have the power. The evil inclination is stronger. But we know that God is going to help. So therefore, we do have the power. So why don't we go through it? Because it is energy taking. And people don't like to spend energy. What would you rather? Go exercise? Or sit on the couch, drink beer, and watch the football game?
Exercise for sure.
Exactly. This is what doing the right thing is hard. It takes energy. And it's not just one time energy, twice energy. You know that it's going to be a constant battle. If you know that you fought it once and twice and then the evil inclination is not going to come to you, then you might, you know what, I can do it. But you know he's going to come again and again and again. It says, how many times in a day should I fight? And then the evil inclination, you know what he tells you? He's smart. He says, pick your fights. What are you going to? You have unlimited energy? Come on, you don't have unlimited energy, the evil inclination says. You have a limited amount of energy. Be smart. No one can fight all day long. Pick your important fights. Don't worry about this right now. Don't worry about this. See how good the evil inclination is? But if you do fight, if you do put up a fight, you know what's going to happen? God is going to immediately help.
That's what the bet hate is.
Bezrat Hashem, very good. That's why we say Bezrat Hashem for everything. With God's help. Are you going to do a mitzvah? With God's help. Because without God's help, Ilmale HaKadosh Baruch Hu Uzro, because without God helping him, En Yacholo, like we're going to explain later on, the evil inclination knows the beast, knows you, much better than the good inclination. It knows you inside out. It knows all your weak points. It knows when you're energized, when you're not energized. Because he is ingrained in you. So what's the help that God does? He ha'ara shema'ir or Hashem al nefesh ha'elokit. It is the light that God lights the godly soul. See, I'll give you an example. How sweet is sleep when you're tired? And how much energy do you have to put tefillin on with kavana, with real intention, when you're tired? So when you're tired, right, sleep screams to you. Sleep is a desire. Think about the desire when you're really tired. It's a burning desire to get 2 more hours of sleep. Maybe I'm talking to myself. Maybe it's not you guys. But you understand what I'm saying? Everybody can take his own examples. It's a burning desire to sleep. Putting on tefillin, how much energy do you get? What's the high of putting on tefillin? Especially when you're tired. Put on tefillin. Sleep calls you. Sleep is a desire. Or eating something you're not supposed to eat. It's a desire. Or looking at a woman you're not supposed to be looking at. It's a burning desire. Doing the right thing, it's not a burning desire.
I argue that. Desiring to be closer to God. Desire that. No, I'm putting on tefillin to be closer to God. Intention. What's your intention?
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about me. You can take an example from your life. When I get a new phone, my eyes open up, and I'm more excited than I put on tefillin. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, it is said that it's this way, but that's the way it is.
Maybe with a new pair of tefillin.
Oh, with a new pair of tefillin, maybe you're right. With a new pair of tefillin, I'll have some excitement. That's correct. With a new pair, but you see the problem is? The problem is to do sins, we have a burning desire. The desire of the evil inclination is much stronger by most people, and it's not in everything. There's going to be commandments that we have more connection to, and some commandments that we have less connection to. I'm talking about the commandments that we have less connection to. The evil inclination is much stronger though. So what happens? The God doesn't actually do anything. All he does, it makes it clear. Let me explain what do I mean when it says he makes it clear. See, the desire when you have for something which is forbidden, that you're not allowed to do, overwhelms the person to such an extent that he's not able to think. He's not thinking anymore. He's going to destroy his life by doing a particular action, And if he would think clearly, he would never do it. You've seen many men have failed. If they would have thought clearly for 1 second, they would have never done this act. So what happens? They can't think clearly. In other words, the animal part of them, the emotion part of them takes over. All God does is it makes the light of the brain, the light from the godly soul, the light of the good inclination, shine. It enhances the light. It gives it more energy. It shows you, even though you have emotions, look at the intellect. Be an intellectual man. That's what it does. The intellect comes from you. You decide between right and wrong. God enhances the intellect. It makes it more shine. It makes it more relatable to the body. Let's call it this way. Hiara שמאיר אור השם על הנפש האלוקית. This is the shining that God shines on the soul, on the godly soul, להיות ליתרון ושליטה על סכלות. In other words, a person stops in himself and says, I'm not an idiot. What am I doing? What a stupid thing to do. Because you know when you're going to think what a stupid thing to do? Immediately after you sin. Most people, immediately after they sin, they go like, what did I do that for? What a stupid idea. All it does is God shows you what a stupid idea before. And why don't you see it before? Because the animal part took over. That's it. It took over. Al sachlut taksil. It makes you a fool. In other words, if the person would actually think for 1 second, he would never do it. The problem is not he's not thinking. V'yetzer hara. And we discussed it before. A little bit of light chases away the darkness immediately. In other words, it's like we explained, it's not like air conditioning in a room that it pushes away the hot air slowly as it comes in. If it's a dark room, all you need to put is one light switch, one candle, lights the entire room. The same thing over here. Once you think, in other words, once you become a human being that controls your emotion, immediately that goes away. It's an idiotic thing to do. It is an idiotic thing to do. And we are capable of doing it. And how do I know we're capable of doing it? Always remember the story from that woman. When she's around other people, she controls herself. When she notices that somebody is looking at her, she controls herself immediately. She can control herself. We can control ourselves. Okay. So this is the Benoni. And by the way, it's not just by the Benoni. We do it on many occasions. In some things that we know we're not going to entertain the thought of, we don't entertain the thought. If a thought to do something that we don't entertain the thought, that's exactly what we do. We do exactly. It is clear in our mind that maybe the thing is desirable to the eyes. Like Chava said, the fruit is desirable. It is clear that the fruit is desirable. That's not the problem. But it's also clear that we're not going to eat from it. We're not going to eat from the fruit, even though it is desirable. It is clear. And why? Because we fight. Because if we didn't come with the idea that we're fighting in the morning, it's not going to happen. אך מאחר שהרע שבחלל שמאלי בבינוני, but since the evil inclination in the בינוני הוא בתוקפו כדלתו, it is in him constantly. He was born with it. It dwells in him. להתאבות תאווה לכל תענג העולם הזה, to have desires, to hold the pleasures of the world. The ideas of knocking, the desires for physical pleasures are knocking all day long. ולא נתבטל במיעוט לגבי הטוב, and it wasn't nullified to the good, like with the tzaddik. The tzaddik, it is so nullified that the evil inclination is not talking to him anymore. By the Beinani, it's not nullified. ולא נדחה ממקומו כלל, and it never removed from its place. The only difference is רק שאין לו שליטה וממשלה. The only thing is that the evil inclination knows he's not going to be there. He's in the minority right now. The Republicans are in Congress. They have the House. There's nothing he can do. They have the votes. But there's a continuous talking. In other words, it knows he's not going to be able to control the government, to control the body. He knows he's not taking over the city, but he's going to say his opinion constantly. להתפשט באיברי הגוף, even though he knows he's not going to be able to control the body. Why? Because he knows this guy is sincere. This guy got up in the morning and he got up to fight. He got up in the morning to fight. He's aware that there's going to be a fight. And from the moment he's up, you know what he's thinking about? I'm going to fight today. מפני הקדוש ברוך הוא, and because God helps him, העומד לימין אביון, that is going to stand to the right of the good inclination, ועוזר ומאיר לנפש האלוקית, and he helps the godly soul, לכן נקרא כרשע. This is why he's called כרשע, like he's evil. Now, we actually right now answered a question we asked on chapter Aleph, on the first chapter. If we go back to the first chapter, on the third line, first chapter, third line, page 3, it says, ואפילו כל העולם כולו אומרים לך צדיק אתה, even if the entire world are going to tell you that you're righteous, היה בעיניך כרשע, you should always look at yourself. Notice how one letter changes everything. It's a deeper understanding of what we read before. It should say, היה בעיניך רשע. You should look, you should be in your eyes wicked. You should be wicked in your eyes. It doesn't say you should be wicked in your eyes. It says you should look at yourself like you are wicked. What does it mean, like? You're the same status as a wicked person. When it comes to what? When it comes to emotions and intellect. Not when it comes to action. When it comes to action, you are 100% not wicked. In other words, when it comes to action, a Beinani and a Tzaddik is the same thing. There is no difference between a Beinani and a Tzaddik. They're the same animal when it comes to what? When it comes to action. If you follow a Tzaddik's life and you follow a Beinani your entire life, you can see his emotional state and his intellectual state. You can only see his behaviors. They will look like the same person. You would never be able to know who's the Beinani, who's the Tzaddik. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they're going to act exactly the same. The difference is, a Beinani is struggling, and a Tzaddik is going to Disneyland. For him, it's fun to do the right thing.
Isn't it almost like an angel? Because in essence, he has no free will.
Who? The Tzaddik? Very good. Very good. Very good. We're not going.
Struggle is good.
We're not going to go into that conversation because this is a book of Beinonim. But there's a big question: who needs them? God doesn't need them. God has angels. He doesn't need tzaddikim. And there's a good question why. There's a good question why we need tzaddikim. Much later in the book, we're going to get to that. There's actually a requirement to have a tzaddik. We have a Moshe Rabbeinu for a reason. Yeah. So now we answered the question, why does it say you should look yourself as wicked? And we know there's pitfalls if you're going to think about yourself as wicked. You'll be sad. You won't be able to serve God with gladness of heart and so on and so forth. So it's not that you should look at yourself as wicked. You should know that you made from the same material as the two Reshaim. The only difference between you two is that you're sincere. You're standing over here to fight. You get up in the morning and you know you're going to win the fight. And the rest of the Reshaim, what do? From the morning they get up and you know what they say? Today I'm not fighting. Or they're saying, I'm going to pick my fights. Not every fight I'm going to fight. Sometimes I'm going to do what God says. Sometimes I'm going to tell God, excuse me, you wait in the corner. I'm more important. I'll do what I say. Yeah? A Benoni would never say such a statement. He says, God forbid to tell God, wait in the corner, I'm more important. Never enters his mind such a thing. He's sincere. That's what a Benoni is. I think this is a good place. Stop right over here. And we're going to see later on in the chapter and in the next chapter that in the Beinonim itself, there's many levels. And the many levels of the Beinoni, some of them are so lofty that to see the difference between them and a tzaddik takes contemplation. It's not so easy to see where the difference is between a Beinoni and a tzaddik. Because remember, a Beinoni during davening is actively thinking about God. At that moment, he's a tzaddik, right? A Beinoni can put himself in a status of thinking about God all day long. In other words, a Beinoni can put himself in a status of constantly actively thinking about God for 40 years. He's not a tzaddik. Even though for the last 40 years, he didn't think about any sin. Didn't even enter his mind. He's still not a tzaddik. Why? Because in order not to think about sin, he needs to actively think about God. If for 1 second he's going to think about business, he's going to think about wife, he's going to think about any material thing, immediately the evil inclination is going to come back in. He can keep himself for 40, 50 years maybe, only thinking about God, but it's actively pushing away the evil inclination. If he just lets go for 1 second, the evil inclination is coming back in. And that we'll discuss next time.